I just let you know a little bit more how we come from decision makings to plays to producing the plays and making the program of the season and the month. And maybe that will do for today, and then we continue tomorrow. And then, does everybody see?
Wir sind ein Berliner Theater und ich bin ein Berliner Theatermacher und ich mache Theater für diese Stadt. Ich glaube auch, dass viele
The last part of the movie, just before, not this one now, but was about touring a specific production. Did you get that? Because I had the feeling it was like very, it was maybe not quite clear, but it was enemy of the people, touring the world, and we have a film actually, which I really would like to show you about this, about enemy of the people touring the world. We have a camera team that accompanied us in London, Istanbul, Moscow, India, Chile, and it's quite interesting to see what kind of reactions this production created in the different parts of the world. One very important thing in our work is really what Thomas said in the beginning, that we really begin our work in looking at ourselves and at our local reality in Berlin, Germany, Europe, but to look at this very locally, and look for projects, for plays that we were just talking about, and ask ourselves the question: what is going on in our society? What is the state of mind of our society, of ourselves, of human relationships in our times, and which plays, which projects reflect on that in the most interesting way, and what kind of projects can be produced that best shows that what we see and that and the questions that we have. We have this structure that I was talking about, and now we try to fill it. And what we do is we have this one round of people: the dramaturg, the artistic director, myself as the producer, the production manager, and the head of design actually, and we discuss the project, the program, the dramaturgy, and etc. And we have the different directors that we like to work with. We have the different authors and projects that we like to work with, and then we brainstorm, and we actually have such a flip chart, and then we have ideas. I'm just writing our current season down, so you get an idea of how we work. So this may be a year from now, or a year past, or maybe even 1.5 years, then we may say this is a project by Milo Rau. I don't know if you know him.
Yeah.
Then we may say he is a director. Actually, what often happens is that we first have a director and then a play. It's an interesting thing that a theatre starts with a director first and not with a project. The Royal Court always starts with a play and then looks for a director. We work the other way around. Not because we believe in it, but it's a kind of a system that the director, the man or woman director, is just very important. Is maybe even more important than the project. People go to a theatre because of director, because of a certain theatre language, of course because of actresses and actors, but also because of a director. So maybe there is a director who's because we don't yet have a project, but we have a director. Later on, we find a play. It just opened last week, Champignol, Malgré Louis by Feydeau, very classical play, or very old play. Then we have another a play by Horvath. That's actually a play that we want to do and that Thomas is doing. Okay, so eventually we have all these different plays, different projects that are just there on the list. We know we have to find about 10 projects for the season. Sometimes we say we just need 8, that may be enough. Sometimes we add special projects. For example, we had a list of projects this season. This is the season. And we had a list of, I'm just writing the season that we actually have this year. So we eventually have a list. We know that we have to. This is a kind of order of time. So we say this is maybe roughly set September, October, November, etc. And it goes up to June. So this is just a very rough planning. So parallel to that, because the ensemble is the most important thing in an ensemble theatre, so we can't just play, we always have to think of the director, a possible project, and the actors who we have, who we want to put in the projects, but who also want to play and who have, who say that we're engaged, we're hired here in this theatre, and we want you to give us tasks. So we're always looking at these lists of actors here that you see, and see, okay, we have this play. What cast may we have in that production? What is the right cast? Sometimes we even say, no, this is, we don't find the cast for a project, so we leave that behind and look for another. Sometimes we look for a specific, for a project for a specific actor or for a specific 2 or 3 or 4 actors, for a specific cast. So this ensemble is always in the center of our thoughts, and then we have to work out how the parallel casts can be worked out. So it's a matter of looking at the plays, which actors are needed, which actors work with which director. Sometimes a director prefers a certain actor or a certain actress, prefers a certain ensemble of actors. This is quite tricky, like Ostermeyer has actors that he knows very well and that he wants to work with and has gone away, has developed a certain aesthetics, a certain theater language. So he prefers certain actors. Herbert Fritsch prefers other actors. Here, this is Marius von Meyenburg. He prefers same actors as Thomas Ostermeyer. So that's a problem because they cannot rehearse parallel. So we have to make sure that this premiere, this rehearsal period starts after that, and then we have to be careful that we have enough time. So these are all the different parameters of how we build the season, which makes it quite complicated, and we have to make sure that the executive director, myself, and the production manager don't take over in that discussion, because sometimes the pragmatic side of things move to the foreground, whereas the content and the artistic questions should be in the first place, should be the priority of everything. But it's always, you always have to go back and forth, and you always have to find a balance between what is needed to be done, what can be done, and what is the idea and the artistic vision of the whole program, which cannot be lost. And this is extremely important, that in the process of building a season, of building up the organization, the artistic vision, the artistic idea is not lost. And of course the artistic idea is the plays, the projects, the cast, but it's also the general development of the company in itself, the development of the ensemble in relation to the directors, and the whole theater as it appears. And also in our spaces, you remember those ABC, we want to program parallel shows. You want to play in A, you remember, and in C, parallel, which means you have different casts, and these different casts of two productions tend to repeat in future productions again, because then they can play parallel again. Do you know what I mean? Do you understand?
Yeah.
So sometimes the production manager, the production office would vote for a certain cast. I myself, as the executive director, tends to vote for a certain cast. But then you have to say, no, shut your mouth. The artistic idea of new encounters, which enhances a relationship, which enables a certain artistic development, and of course maybe a better match for a better cast, needs to move up in the priority list, even though it conflicts with certain schedule questions. This is something that I haven't talked about yet. We do 100 shows outside of Berlin, outside of Germany, which means lots of the actors are touring throughout the world and cannot play and perform and rehearse in Berlin, which also needs to be, which you also have to have in mind. And sometimes we are in the position of knowing, for example, the coming season, 1920, we know this one production will go to New York for 3 weeks, will go to Paris for 3 weeks, will go to Brussels for 2 weeks, and will be gone for, what did I say now, 8 weeks. This becomes part of the production planning, part of the season planning. Correct. Now your question.
Well, it was connected to what you were saying, meaning that when you plan, you need to think of touring. But who is in charge? I mean, you have a person who is especially in charge of organizing tours and finding, communication with other festivals, making sure you get invited and so on.
Yeah, we have 2 people on the production side and 2 people on the technical side that are just dealing with touring. Every time I say this, I think this is really crazy. We have 4 people that we hired just for touring. They must realize quite some touring in order to get their salaries paid back. But no, so those 2 people, it's actually 1.5, so it's a part-time job and it's one full position, and they organize the tours, and they also keep up network. I myself, I'm very much involved in the international part. So I network also a lot, I travel also a lot, and and I pass it then on to them, so they follow up, and my assistant as well.
I'm just interested how you, for example, you remain connections with regular partners, festivals that you visit every 2-3 years.
How I do that?
Beside that, how you choose new festivals? Because you probably have to every year involve somebody new. Maybe not every year, but it has to.
There's no system really. There's no system. That's what I was just trying to say. It's by in a way it's by chance. There's people coming to Berlin to a festival. There's this kind of annual festival of the most remarkable selected productions of German theater, selected by critics, and that's happening in Berlin in May. And in that period, lots of international presenters come to Berlin, and of course I meet people, and they have heard of us, and I give them our program and so on and so forth. But it's lots of things happen per chance. When we go to festivals, to other partners to present our work, I often go with the company. Not always, it's impossible, but I often go with it. And in that when you accompany your own production, there's always people you meet, and then things happen. But of course, there's also just lots of people coming to us and asking. You were gasping, or some of you, 21 million budget. It's a lot of money, isn't it? But it all is sucked into the structure. There is no money to invite other shows, and that is something that is a problem I see, and we have opened it quite a little bit, and we find it more and more important, because international exchange is something that is becomes more and more important in the future.